David's mum, your time has come. It is that time, people. This is a video I've wanted to make for a little while. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into David's mum. Not like that, but basically, I'm going to be digging very, very deep into the backstory of Coleen Burke, David's mother. I heard her name come up at a few times in the preliminary hearings, but I did not see her sorry face once. She didn't turn up to the hearings. She was not present. She did not get any of the horrific information about the things that her son allegedly did. And I would probably describe her as a coward for not attending. I know that she is persona non grata in that courthouse. Celeste's family were there, really going through it. But David's mother was nowhere to be seen, and I do think she is a disgrace. I think she is a terrible mother based on the things that I've seen. But more so, we're going to explore in this video some of the ideas, some of the things that were said in court about her, some of the rumors that she might have actually known about what was going on between David and Celeste, and really just an update on just where on earth has she been, where's she been hiding, what's she been up to. The last we'd seen her publicly was this picture. This is very embarrassing. She was caught, outside a gun store of all places. All right, so maybe she is as dangerous as her son allegedly is, but she was very insensitively wearing a shirt that said "send nudes." All right, now that hits different when we know that her son had 48 illegal videos on his phone. A real nasty piece of work that she brought into the earth. But anyway, we're going to be looking deep into Coleen's backstory, and I'm not going to be holding back in this video. I'm just going to give some opinions, some theories, things that are out here publicly, a few things that have been alleged. I would say this isn't personal. People are going to think this is personal. I'm sure Colleen's going to think this is personal, but it's not personal. I think it really just is a fact that your name has been brought up in proceedings of, a preliminary hearing for an alleged child murderer, PDF abuser. And the things that we saw in that courtroom, I'll never forget. And if you hadn't birthed this despicable human being, it's possible that myself, Celeste's parents, everybody else in that courtroom would have never been subjected to these horrific images, that you were too much of a coward to come and see for yourself. So this is a little bit of backstory, all right? So the last we saw of her was her in that send nude shirt, all right? So this is the backstory about what was actually going on when she was seen. She was seen leaving Tomboy Porn and Jewelry with an unknown male who looks like a bodyguard. Now, I'm very curious as to whether the big beefy bodyguard that David's mother has been seen with is the same bodyguard that allegedly was going to help David with Operation Awesome and assist him in kidnapping Celeste from her family home in the middle of the night so that they could spend Valentine's Day together in 2024. I've actually also been wondering if this is the same bodyguard. I don't know for sure, but let's have a look, just to remind you guys. I've been wondering if this was the same bodyguard. I can't find it. I was wondering if it was the same bodyguard. There was basically a picture of when David moved out of his house before he was arrested. There was a giant guy that looked like a bodyguard helping with the move. That picture seems to have been scrubbed from the internet. This is why it's so important for people like me to be doing this and to be making videos on this. It'll take me quite some time, not enough time that I have right now, to go back and find that from my notes elsewhere. But, that's why it's so important to basically, keep making these videos and document everything. Because at the end of the day, there is a massive psyop going on to delete evidence, to delete information and make it harder to find the truth. And I'm gonna have to spend a few hours later trying to find this image, either among my notes or online. But there was a picture of a big-ass bodyguard outside David's house when he was moving. And I wonder if it was the same guy. But anyway... Coleen is seen reading through an AR-15 manual in photos published by the Daily Mail. An AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle favored by police and military. Coleen wore a t-shirt with the words "send nudes" on the front. It's the first time she was seen in public since Celeste's body was found in the trunk of an impounded Tesla registered to David. So, yeah. It says, does the t-shirt's choice not seem absurd to anyone else? She knows she's being watched and photographed due to her son being charged with murder, PDF, and stuff, and decided that this was the best t-shirt to wear out during it. It's almost as if she's mocking the whole situation. Also, what do you guys think about her getting a gun for her safety? It says she pretty much is saying she's not backing down to the haters, but why? When her son is being charged with such nasty crimes, a normal person would denounce their son and try and distance themselves. My only guess is she wants the money. I've seen from another post, someone in the replies, that she's apparently in charge of his music career and business right now after the label dropped David, and that she's still preparing merch and something else. I can't remember, assuming for when she thinks he will be free. So I definitely think for money, considering she thinks he'll sell. Yes, I was at the preliminary hearings, and what I heard was that she was in touch with David's kind of financial manager to try and organize him an entertainment business attorney, so that he could continue his music career, and he was being paid $7,500 a month, and that David's mother had for a long time been handling finances, paying invoice, etc., for David to run his operation. So the lawyer for the Hernandez family did repeat this, but this was actually testimony from a financial manager. People saying, keeping it classy, that Apple doesn't fall far. I think she's a cornball through and through. I also think she's a bad mother, horrible mother. Even if none of this ever happened, I think it would be weird as F of my mum to wear a shirt like that. Especially because in her age bracket, it wasn't even a phrase to be used. It's true. It is true. Feeling dehydrated today. Said, isn't this super old news? Also, the send news things are common saying about ramen or noodles. She's a terrible person, no doubt, but this kind of misses the mark in my opinion. I don't think it misses the mark. Said it's about ramen. It's a pun. Yeah, it's a pun. It's a joke. But it's a joke that is about nude pictures, which your son had 48 illegal ones on his phone. So it's not really that funny, is it? It's funny, like I'm going to be sick in my mouth funny, you know? So apparently an interesting piece of information that's going around that some people think, I don't know, right? I don't know. But apparently someone, this has been alleged 9 months ago. Now, we didn't see any proof of this, okay? And this could be cap. But we did apparently see a claim made 9 months ago that somebody called Celeste's mother in the time she was missing and said, stop looking for her. Says, why didn't they ask her, where were you? Are you okay? Are you okay? I don't know when she came back, but then she disappeared again and went back to him. I know someone called her mum and said, stop looking for her. She's fine. They told the family to take down the social media posts about her being missing. It's not known who the alleged caller was or whether they're connected to David. Now, this is really interesting because we heard in court that David had actually said in his messages, oh, I just want to be together so that we can, you know, live together full time without the cops harassing us or without any of these posters. That makes me think it was David. I don't know. That's just a theory. But that makes me think that David was actually the one who was calling the family saying, lay off and take down the posters, because he was annoyed by the posters. We learnt from his text messages, facts. He was annoyed by the posters. He said he was tired of these missing posters. Source said they themselves took down a post asking for help as they were scared the situation was out of hand. This is the thing. Oh, the parents knew. Oh, the parents sold their daughter out. They knew where she was. The parents were possibly intimidated by this multimillionaire with a private security. They might have been intimidated. Who knows? Maybe they were threatened. This person ominously calling them saying, don't worry about your daughter. If somebody called you and said, don't worry about your daughter, she's fine. I know everybody would love to play superhero and love to play Liam Neeson, right? This guy's a multimillionaire with private security. These are people that aren't naturally born in the United States. They don't speak English. I mean, I question this being true when I keep thinking, but they don't speak English, right? Like, we talked about this the other day. Everyone's like, oh, but there was a signed consent form that had the dad's name on it that was notarized. As far as I'm aware, dad can't speak a lick of English. He had to report to detectives that he thought the body in the car was his daughter through his other daughter, Celeste's sister, as an interpreter because he can't speak a lick of English. And I've seen him in the court. They couldn't understand what was being said. Beth Silverman turned around and said something to them, and they're like, and then the interpreter has to come over and be like, and then they're like, oh, okay. They cannot speak English. I've seen it. They can't speak English. Beth Silverman said very simple stuff to them that they couldn't understand, and they had to have it translated. So I could imagine they're intimidated. I could imagine that they were worried. They're scared the situation was getting out of hand. They might have been scared that this person might have been vindictive. This person might have wanted to report them to ICE. Could have been anything. This is in a backdrop of people getting disappeared in America if they're not from here, okay? The Insider was sickened to hear of the gruesome details reported about Celeste's death and said they are desperate for justice. Celeste leaves behind her parents, Mercedes and Jesus, a brother Matthew and a half-sister Jennifer. They've tried to contact the family. The family ain't trying to talk to nobody. People saying, please take the Sun post with a grain of salt. They're known to sensationalized. Oh, wow. Forgot about this one. David's got a lyric where he says, you said you were moving out of state, but your location, it don't ever change. I called your mother and father yesterday and said you've been going through some phases. That is actually sickening. because that would be like phases of decomposition. Let me see what song this is from. What does he say? Moving out of state. When was this song released? Jesus Christ. So this is a song called What Did I Do? Unknown when this song came out, or if this seems like a leak, it's not off an official album. That's fucking insane. Every day it's new bit of self-snitching. They said you've been going through some phases. I called your mum and dad the other day. Your location never changed. What? Because he murdered her and kept her in the car. But what did I do? What did I do for you to hate me so much? What did I do for you to hate me so much? Now we know that she was threatening to out you, and she said she was going to kill you and mutilate your thing, and she was going to go crazy and tell her dad a bunch of lies about you and ruin your career and destroy and damage everything. I played my role. I played my part. I kept it cool. Don't act like I don't have the right to be confused. Fucking hell, man. All of your loves feels like I'm drowning in a pool. When was this song? When was this leaked? And I don't want to lose, so I just have to choose you. This is quiet confidentiality. She said she don't want to know my real identity. I told her an artist. I'm about to go on tour. He went on tour just after the murder. What the fuck is this song? And then she said she don't think she could love me anymore. I told her I'll be back in like a year, nothing less. And all she got to do is chill. Don't be stressed, just blessed. I could put the diamond around on your neck. I'll get your name tatted on my chest. What? Like you have that song called Celeste with the girl with the name's tatted on my chest. Celeste, the girl with my name tatted on her chest. I'll get your name tatted on my chest, bitch. What? What did I do for you to hate me so much? This is so insane. What's like? What? When did that one come out? I need to do some more digging into that one. But anyway, that's crazy. Says, so are they confirming that they knew where she was every time she ran away? It's like she'll say she's going to the movies, but then would be gone for a few days, and they would report her missing. If they told her no, she couldn't go with him, she most likely still snuck out. Now, this was 9 months ago. We now have a lot more information. And it was even worse than that, all right? They had a whole operation to kidnap her in the night. The family were trying to get her back. The police were going to the property, knocking on the door. We're seeing body cam. David's lying to them. He's managed to get rid of her. It's crazy. That's why they never directed the energy towards David and his team, or else the police would have acted on the info. They knew exactly where she was, but whenever she wasn't coming home for days, they reported her missing. I'm not having any family slander. We're not having any of that. There's really no new info. This is old. All right, so here's the thing, all right? This is what we heard, and some people have actually gone and bought the transcripts from the courthouse, so could have saved my wrist the effort, but, you know what I'm saying, this information is after the fact. But this is what was said. It said Coleen was responsible for 50% of the monthly rent, but stopped paying the rent in May 2025. This is the finance director. Did you have knowledge of the house that David was, or Mogul Vision was leasing, the house that David was staying in LA? Yes. And you understood that 50% of the leasing costs were paid for by David's business, right? Yes. Specifically, David's mother, Coleen, would pay the bill, right? She would approve it, yes. She would approve it, and although the lease had been arranged by Mogul Vision, you set up the utility services for that rental house, right? I recall, yes. David did none of these things for himself. Obtain the lease, arrange the lease, set up utilities. He didn't do shit, all right? And Steve said, let me guess, you still think you have something with the 408 address. You think he was leasing that. He was months behind on the rent on the mansion and couldn't afford that, but he also had other houses leased. Oh, my lord, you're uninformed. Says it begs the question why, and if his mother and Mogul Vision both stopped paying rent after David told them something happened. This is new information. We knew they stopped paying rent in May, but continued living there, and we didn't know Coleen was responsible for half the monthly rent as part of his work contract until now. Now, you know what's crazy? Is it's like we're hearing at the end of 2024, Celeste had gone to David's house in Houston, flown out to Texas to meet the family. It seems like their breakup came pretty soon after that. Or at least their final breakup came pretty soon after that. For whatever reason, he ends up hooking up with her, talking about, oh, you know, I gave in. You instigated it, but I just gave into it. Disgusting. And then they have this giant argument, and then he invites her over and allegedly murders her on April the 23rd. Now, he said in the argument before, the day before the murder took place, allegedly, he said, oh, my mom's coming over, all right? And apparently David's family was due to arrive at his house, I believe, within a few days of the murder. Now, that's fucking crazy. And now it makes you wonder, how come... So David had said to Celeste, like, oh, I want to talk to my parents in person. And they didn't say specifically, but it seemed to hint at the possibility that, like, maybe David's... was kind of going to reveal something to his parents. Maybe he was going to tell them that he'd broken up with Celeste, or that they were back together, or that she was a minor. I don't know. But it seemed like he had planned to have this big conversation with his parents, and that was going to kind of go somewhere. Come to find out, they're saying Coleen stopped paying the rent in May. Now, that's insane, because it makes you think maybe they were like, well, we disapprove of whatever you got going on in this house. We're not contributing towards this. We're not organizing this for you anymore. And then eventually, obviously, he gets, you know, identified as a suspect but not arrested, and then they find all the blood in the garage, and then he moves out. It's insane. Someone's saying, this is huge. Why did he stop paying the bill the next opportunity after Celeste died? Why? This is actually very interesting. If they didn't have knowledge that something happened and they happened to stop paying rent the very next week, that would be a big coincidence. That would be a big coincidence, Colleen. Why did you stop paying the rent? In the beginning, we all thought Josh's bank account ran dry, so he stopped paying rent. I guess Josh spent all of his money on $50,000 Rolexes, you know, and, you know, filed privacy complaints against me for flexing them in videos. Now, that's crazy. In the beginning, we all thought Josh's bank account ran dry, so he stopped paying rent. Now we know 2 people were responsible for paying rent, and none of it was paid starting May 2025. It wouldn't shock me if he had an agreement along the lines of, I will help you pay your rent until the album is released, then you can pay it yourself, and then he just dropped the ball. As we know, the album released right then, and tickets went on sale the same day. Also, I don't see how it plays into the defense's favor either way, since he already knew he was struggling financially, or he didn't and thought he had a really great cash flow. Either way, he would still be financially motivated to prevent things from getting worse or protect his wonderful career. Excuse the lack of knowledge, but why are they fixating on this? Is it to prove that they knew something had happened back in May and the significance of his mother being involved in his affairs? I wonder what all that means. Was she far more aware than we all knew? It says, interestingly and ironically enough, this line of questioning was done by David's defense team. They're trying to prove that David has no knowledge of his finances and basically how much money he was worth, basically. It says, if he's buying Celeste's expensive purses and sending her $9,000 at a time, surely he understood he had a lot of money. All right, here's Cap. All right, he knew exactly what was... All right. In my opinion, he definitely had a grasp of his finances and he was able to send Celeste $9,000 at a moment's notice. Says, lol, okay, so they're throwing his mum under the bus in the name of making him look less guilty. Wowza. Not really throwing her under the bus, though. They're just trying to argue that since he didn't even know how much money he had and he didn't handle his finances, the murder couldn't have been for financial gain, which is dumb because it's still financial gain if you prevent yourself from losing money. To be clear, his mother was approving the payments out of David's account and not funding the rent herself, right? The sub has 1,000% directed the ire that should go towards his family and David's mother at Celeste's family instead. That's a fact, and this sub is compromised, so I think there's a bunch of bots in here doing David's bidding. The defense needs to fuck off. Even if his mum was paying rent, he was going on tour and having brand deals. He knew he was making money. Everybody knows you need money to live in the Hollywood Hills, even him. He's paying these lawyers thousands, if not millions, for the defense to be that he didn't know he had money and she stabbed herself. Shake my head. At this point, they're just hoping one juror is dumb and they'll be like, you know what, I can believe that. Yeah, because how are you living in Beverly Hills throwing house parties, but you don't know anything about your finances? Make it make sense. So do you know how many artists get an advance and blow through it and end up owing the label? This is how that happens. Are they talking about that house? What's your source for the rent not being paid since May? And the comment that David told someone, I believe it was established in court that they were in arrears on the rent. Not related, but when did we find out David told Rob that Celeste was dead? That was a separate thing. But this is about Coleen, all right? So let's move on. There's all this talk about the notarized document. And I showed you guys in the previous video, right, that David's mother was a notary. And some smart people remember that. And a lot of people, rather than blame the family, oh, see, it's proof the family sold their daughter to David because they signed a permission slip for her to go to London. We don't know what she told her parents. They can't even speak English. So we don't know if she said, oh, this is a school trip. Oh, this is a... You know what I mean? It could have been anything. This is a permission slip for me to skip gym class. This is I'm going on a trip with my really rich female young friend to London, and can you sign this so that I can go with his mom? There's no proof that they knew about the relationship. But we don't know if David's mother notarized this, but they made a very this specific point that it was notarized in court. And we know that David's mum is a notary. So some people put 2 and 2 together. They said his mum needs to be charged with fraud. I'm almost positive that his mum is the one who notarized the document allowing Celeste to travel to London. Notarizing a document requires the person signing it to be in person. Do we really believe the dad went to meet David's mum in person to sign it? I doubt it. I'm pretty sure Celeste just took him the document, lied about what it said in order to get him to sign it. I'm sure David convinced her to do it without the dad being present. If so, she should be charged with fraud. It's not even that complicated. She could have just signed for her dad. Like, we didn't get a side-by-side comparison of his signature. We didn't get any proof. She could have easily just looked at his signature. Like, I swear, like, your driver's license or other documents be having signatures on them. Different documents, like the back of your credit card. She could have just lifted it and copied that shit. Yeah, Colleen notarized this. That could have been easily what happened. And everyone's saying the parents need to be charged with neglect. If we're talking about that, then charge David's mother with fraud first. And also, let's not forget the fact that they ducked the grand jury illegally for a long period of time, in my opinion. He said Celeste's parents notarized it, came out in court. No. Dummy. It was a notarized document. This is what they said, and a lot of people have misinterpreted this. Celeste's parents notarized it. Didn't happen, all right? This is a compromised subreddit. But no, they said Celeste's father's name. They didn't say parents, so that's cap, all right? They said his name was on a notarized document, okay? They've taken this a little bit further than what it's supposed to be. His name was on it, all right? That's it. Signing and notarizing are two different things. An accredited notary, which David's mum is required to notarize the document and make it official. I don't know why they're downvoting that, but it is a compromised sub. So they're saying that I believe the notary would have had to see Celeste's father sign it. Here's the thing. If David's parents and Celeste's parents had ever met at any point, that guarantee would have been brought up by his defense, because that would make him look really good. They didn't bring it up because it didn't fucking happen, right? They brought up everything they possibly could without lying. They can't lie. David's lawyer can't lie. But they didn't say that. Didn't say they'd ever met. All they said was, we have a notarized document with the father's name on it. Didn't say they ever met. Who notarized it? That we don't know. So we don't know if it went down like that. What you're saying is based on assumptions. Right now, what we know is Celeste's parents notarized her. Not true. A notarized form with the father's name on it to go to London. If there was evidence of fraud happening like that, then I'm pretty sure it would come up soon. Hell, it would have been pointed out already. We don't know that, all right? The defense asserted, that's true. The defense asserted Celeste's parents had a document. They didn't have the document notarized, right? So anyway, you get the gist. Where are you getting this misinformation from? Trap's newest video, I assume. Yeah, he's grasping at straws. They clearly knew. See, they're talking about me grasping at straws when I watched David's defense grasp for the tiniest little straws that you've ever seen in your entire life. Okay? Absolute embarrassing shit show of a defense. They barely had anything. This is one of the strongest things. And they want to talk about misinformation for me. I was in the courtroom. You lot weren't in there at all. You don't have a clue. All right? The wrongful death held a press conference and didn't reject any of those claims about the family knowing, so Trap can stop defending. Cap, that's not what he said. He said that they absolutely... He basically said that the defense told a pack of lies in there, all right? And he didn't answer any questions, doesn't need to answer questions, no need for it, all right? Because he knows the bullshit they're going to ask him. It's already been misinterpreted, okay? Trap even said the defense is grasping at straws, blaming the family. It's a low-effort try. And I'm like, isn't Corey Farrell the prosecutor's witness from LAPD that said Celeste's parents, in fact, did know about the relationship? Never said. Never happened. Did not once get said at all that the parents knew about the relationship. These types of idiots, right? And this is the r/Dave idiots, so they are basically idiots. It's ironic that it's called that. Genius, really. Like, that's not what was said, okay? That's not what was said. No, the prosecutor's witness did not say Celeste's parents knew about the relationship. Not at all. They said they were aware of who David was. That's it. And we know that because Celeste's father identified that she was in the car. How's this grasping at straws when the defense... This is all David defense going on. How's this grasping at straws by the defense when the prosecutor's witness stated this? Okay, the defense asked it, but Farrell answered it. That's not what he said. It's cap. So this is misinformation. Has nothing to do with the defense or any... to help David in any way, let alone make the family look bad for David. I mean, Trap is probably traumatized by the autopsy pics, and it can really take a toll on people mentally to hear these graphic things, but come on, it doesn't erase the fact the parents knew and let it happen. Not true. No proof of that was ever presented. This is cap, right? So you're saying they asked the detective on the stands if the parent knew about the relationship, and he said yes. Cap. Not true, never happened. Oh, you're a liar, okay. Yes, Farrell was on the stand and the defense cross-examination asked questions about the family's knowledge were asked. The family doesn't mean the parents. There's a few smart people in here. The family doesn't mean the parents, by the way. That's exactly why the question was, did the family and not did Celeste's parents? The wording of this was intentionally vague. The father signed the papers. No, it had his name on it. To travel to London, which was also mentioned. That doesn't say the parents knew. Obviously, none of us saw the document, so you're assuming the parents gave consent for her to travel with David. It's equally possible that it was just an unaccompanied minor travel consent form, which would align with David buying their tickets separately and paying for an unaccompanied minor fee. Here's the thing, all right? And there's no votes on that. Here's the thing, okay? Here is the funny thing. That notarized document that says that this minor can travel because the father gave permission, that doesn't say on the document, oh, that she can travel with the dude that's illegally abusing her. The actual context that's needed to prevent this crime from happening was never presented. There's no, oh, I can sell my daughter into a PDF document to sign. That's not what happens. Not a real thing. Okay, they won't accept the facts. Police already confirmed it on the stand, and the wrongful death lawyer didn't mention it at the press conference. So it's a done deal, guys. Stop listening to the thrash Trap is spewing for clicks and rage bait. This person is a liar. Okay, this person is a liar, and you know, it's cap. It is cap. Prolific liar. Multiple sources reported the same thing. This is the thing, right? This is the thing. Multiple sources fucking lied, all right? Because so many people were embarrassingly just desperate to buy up and swallow up this story. Oh, see, the family knew. The parents knew about the relationship. Didn't ever happen. Was never said. It was cap. Okay? It was cap. So, all right. Yes. Celeste's sister did know about the relationship. Celeste's cousin or aunt knew about the relationship. Parents didn't know about the relationship. It's fact. Notarization doesn't work like that. The state would have had to pull the notarizer's authorization too, as they broke the law and forged their own paperwork as well. They would have to have a valid ID number to put with each signature. There would be no way for his mom to pretend she was Celeste's dad. Each individual signing must be in person with an approved notarizer, but all signees don't need to get together at the same time. It can be scanned and sent between signees, acquiring the signatures at one time. Each signature must be signed in front of the notarizer. It also needs to be an actual legal document, which the first notarizer will usually make sure of. The only thing I can see happening is if the document was in English and they asked the father to sign it and he didn't translate it for himself, he wouldn't have been asked to sign if he understood the terms of the contract. Or he might have, because she might have just come up with a bag of lies to be like, hey, there's a school trip to London and can you sign this so I can go on it and someone else is paying for it. It's free. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who notarized the document. What matters is their parents signed it and let their kid wander with a grown adult. The document didn't say anything about wandering. It didn't say, oh yeah, sign here to let your kid wander with a grown adult. That's not a thing. All right. And I'm pretty tired of this psyop going on D4VD's, where they're basically just slandering the family. And I do actually think a lot of these accounts have been set up to support and, you know, accounts that have been... Anyway, we'll get into that in another video because I'm going to do a whole expose on this subreddit again. It says, what matters more is their kid was away for 5 months. They didn't even care to get a search warrant for her, except when she went missing on fucking day 1, on Valentine's Day 2024, they sent the cops straight round there. So, anyway, I'm you know... I'm getting tired of going over and over again trying to defend the lies, but you can see what's going on here. But anyway, here's some more discussion about the responsibility that Colleen had. They're saying Celeste's parents aren't to blame. She is. This moron, right? Miss Send Nudes over here. She, Colleen Burke, raised a monster named David Anthony Burke. Let him watch gore unattended 24/7, becoming more desensitized day by day. Took him out of school to become an isolated social reject, and now she's trying to revive his career as if there's anything left. The delusion runs in the family, just like David thought he'd get away with murder and essaying a young'un. Sorry, it's the Send Nude shirt. Reminds me of how Mackenzie Shriller's dad was wearing that Boom shirt in the Netflix doc. Parallels of the shirts and the crime. Okay. Horrific. Everyone but Celeste, and what came out about his mom recently, I'm not surprised. Where was David's dad in all this as well? That family's hella dysfunctional, and the dude is just a complete monster for what he did. I have no words for what I've been seeing. Poor Celeste was ahead of her age and more mature than this F-faced monster would ever be. Unfortunately, she was being emotionally manipulated, and all of those horrible things she has to go through. Right? Why are we only blaming his mom and not his dad? What came about his mom? David's mom knew he got her expecting when she was 13, he was 19. As much as I dislike David's mother, that was never proven. That's not true. That was never brought up in court. David asked her, he said to Celeste, my mum said if I ever get a girl pregnant, I have to ask if it's mine. As far as I'm aware, David's mother never knew about the pregnancies. So that doesn't, I mean, I think if she knew, it would have been brought up, but it wasn't brought up. I recently saw the entire text. What trash? David asked along the lines of, I'm sorry to ask, but my mum always told me if I ever got a girl preg, I have to ask it's mine. I too initially believed Colleen Burke knew about Celeste being preg from the text, and this was Colleen's first reaction to it, but it would seem that reading the whole text that she may not have known about it being pregnant. Fair is fair, and I'm not going to slander her and say that she knew when there's no proof that she knew. It doesn't mean that she didn't know that Celeste was pregnant or didn't know that Celeste was only 13. Those still stand, but reading the entire text, it appears that David asked the question of his own accord, and it didn't specifically come from his mum knowing about Celeste. That doesn't mean it wasn't an appropriate question to ask, because it wasn't, but again, it's not foolproof that Colleen knew Celeste was pregnant. That's only fair, right? He was being a manipulative jackass, using a tactic to absolve himself of blame and instead manipulating his 13-year-old victim into believing she was responsible for the abuse that he put her through. I still believe Colin knew about Celeste's age and looked past it to keep the money flowing. However, that's just my opinion. We don't have facts for that yet. How are we certain him saying his mum knows wasn't just another manipulation tactic by David? Here's the thing. It sounded like his mother was aware of the nature of their relationship, because David did say to her, she said, does your mum know that we have S? And he said, that's the first. That she assumes that's the first thing we do when we see each other. You could argue both ways. You could say, oh well, she's assuming it, but maybe she didn't know the age. Or you could say she's that's what she assumes, but like she doesn't know that we've actually done it. I've told her we haven't actually done it. And it says his mother was around them on more than one occasion. His mum was aware of the sexual nature of the relationship with a minor. His mum and other members of the team made a signal encrypted chat channel after Celeste's body was found in the trunk of his car. This evil bitch is as guilty as they come. Obviously, David is the number one person to blame here, but his innocence isn't protected by not being the one who killed her. But innocence isn't protected by not being the one who killed her. She still has blood on her hands. That was even more damning. It was revealed in court that basically the Mogul Vision team, as well as David's mother, started using Signal after the body was found and identified, and that was damning, to be honest. She was definitely a smart young girl. I'm sad we don't ever see what she could have and should have accomplished in life. David definitely couldn't handle Celeste being herself and needed that control over her. David learned his psychotic behavior from someone in his home. I hope CPS gets called for her daughter. No comment. She's a demon and dangerous to society. All the adults around Celeste failed her, including her parents, but the loss of their daughter is already a devastating consequence. I wonder what the little sister thought, because she met Celeste, and we know that they sat next to each other at David's show. It's sad. It's really, really sad. So anyway, people are saying, why isn't the dad getting blamed? I mean, it seems like the mum was more involved in his finances. The dad was out doing his thing, working. He says, I feel so bad for his little sister. She must be scared and confused. Imagine the excuses and lies that Coleen is spewing at her, and at some point to Caleb, all while having a young daughter that could have been in Celeste's position. May that, of course, never be the case. Says his mom knew she was a minor. She knew they were having S. She knew about the pregnancy. That's not true. If I detect something that's not true, I'm just going to skip it because it's getting silly at this point. I don't think Celeste's parents are innocent, but I can see how structural issues within a low-income migrant family led to their daughter seeking safety and love elsewhere. What predominantly causes a young child to become affectionate towards a complete stranger in such a short time? Bear in mind he was a celebrity, right? And she was a fan. It's a lack of secure attachment to the parents, and I personally believe the parents are to blame for that. There are numerous reasons why parents fall into rushing parent syndrome and fail to be as attentive, loving, and patient as they can be. All while this is a systemic issue we need to consider, the responsibility to assure a safe... No, I'm just going to skip this because it just sounds like more victim blaming. So, people can be born psychopaths, but from everything I've heard, his parents sound like religious nuts with zero attachment to the reality of what their son needed as far as managing his traits and how their beliefs are getting applied in reality, especially by their son. And homeschooling a son with disturbing intents where your only solution appears to be a more religious doctrine, getting him farther from being in touch with reality. So many times in recent texts that were revealed, he was using outside of marriage and God as a way to guilt and shame and manipulate Celeste. That was despicable. It was always like, oh, this is so wrong because we're not married. And when we get married, we can have 2 kids. And it's like, bro, you're disgusting. Forget the marriage. One, grow up, bro. Like, if you're consenting adults, you can have sex before marriage, all right? Don't care what religious nonsense your parents have said in your house. You're not going to hell because if 2 18-year-olds had sex with each other. But what you were doing was wrong in the eyes of God and in the eyes of society and law. I grew up with religious nut parents, and it can get very dark and produce kids who are as weird as fuck. My own sibling, who I don't speak to, turned out like this as well. Not to this degree, but he's effed up, and that's the impression I've always gotten here. They're both horrible parents, but I do agree that Coleen is worse. She's worse in different areas, and it's hard to compare directly. I will say her son ending up as anything other than a complete and utter degenerate is a lottery winner level of luck or bad luck. His entire career trajectory is a testament to the algorithm's ability to give someone a platform. So, this is interesting. It says his mother and father are definitely at fault in some way. Don't you think it's strange nobody's come out and said, I remember David and his family. I remember them being, or something of that nature. Like no prior neighbors, friends, teachers, like from when they used to be in like New York. It's very weird to me. And correct me if somebody already has. Might not be as versed as you guys, but I want to hear from people who had encounters with the family. Interesting. Okay. So people are saying... I mean, I do think that there's something to be said. He's a grown man. He made his own choices. You can't pin someone else's own depraved actions on mommy issues. And that's fair. I mean, I think that at the same time, just like I don't think it's right to blame Celeste's family, I do think that actually, like, you can't say that this is Colleen's fault. I think she's a bad mum. And I think that she definitely has a lot of questions to answer about what she knew. And them fighting the grand jury so despicably was definitely a red flag. But at the same time, this is David's fault at the end of the day. And I think that she needs to answer questions. She needs to stop ducking the smoke, and she needs to, you know, tell the people and tell the authorities, because these guys have fought the grand jury, right? So they're refusing to testify. And it's funny, right? Because it's like, oh, you know, they're trying to get David's parents to come in front of the grand jury. Well, it seems like David's parents hosted the victim at their house, so they do have questions to answer the detectives. I don't know if they spoke to detectives. I don't know if they spoke to the grand jury, but I think it was only right. And it was wrong of them to refuse to appear and try and basically use the law against the investigation and grand jury. So this person said, people can have their views on Celeste's mother and father, sure, but I can't fathom how Coleen lives with herself knowing she's a huge role in this baby's death. A child is dead because she couldn't get her finger out her ass and do the right thing. If I was a mother and found out my son was R-wording, grooming, and doing everything David did to Celeste, I would have beaten him black and blue before disowning him. I would have got that girl back home and figured out what's happening that's making her flee so much. This woman is a disgrace, and every adult involved in this should be behind bars because it's honestly disgusting. I think the thing that just doesn't make sense to me is, like, you got a daughter of the same age. How on earth are you still locked in helping David find a music entertainment lawyer, still helping with the career, not showing up at the trial to face the facts of actually what allegedly happened? It's crazy. It's actually crazy. So I'm going to move on to a new thread in a minute. This one is very long. So a lot of people are confused about why David's mum actually hasn't been arrested. And I'm confused too. Why hasn't she been arrested? It says anybody, I mean, they should have been arrested for not appearing in front of the grand jury, just like Neo. It says anybody confused about his mum and hoping she gets looked into. I cannot get my head around Coleen, who has a daughter close in age to Celeste, just turning a blind eye to her grown son dating a minor. I do get that she wants to stand by her son, but it's now getting said that the moment Celeste was found in the Tesla, she started messaging in those secret apps, Signal and WhatsApp. Did she know? She then tries to find an entertainment lawyer for her son that's accused of the most heinous crimes. What the F? I'm hoping she's not attending the prelim because she's going to get called in and hopefully she gets looked into. I think she should have and seen that evidence. She should have seen those pictures. She should have seen what was found in her son's car. All right. She absolutely knew how old Celeste was. That itself is a problem. There's no doubt about it. A mother knows. Plus, she was a teacher. She damn well knows what kids look like at Celeste's age. That's damning. She is stone cold. I want her to take the stand because I swear something's not right with her. Hope to God she has to undergo questioning in court. The dad too. The mum knows more than she's leading on. Exactly. It's why they've not been cooperative with the police. They won't talk under oath because they know. And even though they moved property and probably money over to themselves, depending on what participation or knowledge they had in him harboring a runaway, traveling with her to London and shows, they could be civilly liable themselves. That's a fact. Looks like Coleen kept an eye on the money, so it's doubtful she didn't know about the tickets he was buying. Here's the thing, right? They said in court outright, black and white, that they moved the properties from David's name into the parents' name to avoid liability in a civil lawsuit. But here's the problem, all right? I wouldn't be surprised if Celeste's family go directly after David's parents, because you guys' name is all over this. So it's all well and good, well, you can sue David civilly. It's Colleen, they're going to sue you civilly. What did you know? She was at your fucking house, your house. You're the adult in the house. You're the woman of the house. It's insane. Oh my God, they weren't cooperative with the police. Yeah. The mother used Signal to communicate with the financial advisor after Celeste's body was found. I hope we see charges against her too, even if it's just obstruction. Love how you refer to David as it. She probably is already, has been looked into about if she had any involvement or not. We'll learn in the coming days. Yes, the mum and dad are both sus as F. Remember when he was arrested, the parents put out a statement saying they believe he's innocent but aren't surprised by his arrest. Well, apparently they were trying to raise $2 million to get him bail the whole time that he wasn't arrested. Remember, people get wrongly convicted every day. So honestly, in that moment, guilty or not, they were smart to plan and prepare for the worst. How they feel today after seeing the evidence pouring in is a different story. They didn't, because they're cowards and they didn't attend the preliminary hearing, and I saw it. and they are cowards. They've got their heads buried in their big stupid heads buried in the stand. I'm confused about why people think his parents haven't been looked into. His mother was referenced yesterday at the hearing that made a big stink about the grand jury subpoena. Neither one of those two things would have happened if they weren't also being investigated too. His mother was partially his manager who manages his money, and there is a financial motive to the murder. She was definitely looked at, but not arrested or charged doesn't mean they weren't investigated. His parents are hypocrites. The parents were immediately suspicious to me when the body cam footage of the swatting of their home came out. Something about their reaction to everything that was going on in that situation just left me uneasy. She sounds like a hell of a greedy bitch. No wonder David ended up like this and his brother is still pursuing fame so desperately. My personal theory is that along with her wanting his money and success, the mother also saw just how immature her son was. Sure, he was a rising musical sensation who was making shit tons of money, but he also had to switch to homeschooling for reasons and had very childish interests. And of course, there's the most awful of justification: she's mature for her age. I think that his mother was able to justify it all with that and sort of had to because of the fame and the money. Whatever had normal in their relationship changed after that. I think it's because his mum was the manager at the beginning of his career, and even after that, she continued to be financially involved in his career. So she feels entitled to the money he made, and so she doesn't want to lose everything she worked for because of what is done. They are going to lose everything, trust me. Straight from the beginning, I thought the mother knew something, even if it was her gut instinct mothers have about their children. Dude, y'all still can't believe this bitch knew Celeste was we don't know that for sure. Locked up for what exactly? Looked into as did she know she aided and abetted him. Okay. Also, the family was in LA around the time of Celeste's murder. Celeste's parents should also be held accountable for letting her travel out the country without her consent. This should all be prosecuted. Fat chance. They're never going to prosecute the family because the family don't deserve to be prosecuted. They've suffered enough. So anyway, all right. She never showed up to the preliminary hearings. Though she should, specifically so she can see what her son actually did. She'll probably be forced to for the actual trial along with everyone else involved. She should, but let's face it, abusive mothers take in advantage of inbuilt human society bias towards women as seeing women as saints. Look into women are wonderful effect. I don't know about that, buddy. So anyway, there's more discussions about Coleen, the signal, the entertainment lawyer going around. This is what was said. Said Coleen Burke had a $7,500 has a lawyer on a $7,500 retainer. It wasn't a lawyer. He was a financial advisor, basically a financial manager on a $7,500 retainer he was tasked with finding her a new lawyer for David's music career in the hopes of reviving David's career, that's true, and switch to the encrypted messaging app's Signal with Mogul Vision after Celeste was found. So prosecutors called former Mogul Vision finance director Benjamin Greger, who had a lawyer, Evan Jennis, present, who testified about Burke's finances and the rise of his music career. Greger, who previously handled day-to-day financial management for Burke's businesses, told the court that David earned an approximate 10 to 11.5 million in gross income between 2023 and 2025, including a $600,000 signing payment from Interscope Records and roughly 2.4 million during the first year after signing with the label. Greger testified that Burke also operated multiple business entities, including a publishing company, merch business that received multi-million-dollar advances, and Silverman appeared to introduce the testimony as part of their effort to establish the high financial stakes surrounding David's career before Celeste's death. Greger further testified that after Celeste's remains were discovered in David's Tesla, communications with Burke's management team, including Josh Marshall, manager Robert Morgenroth, and Burke's mother, Coleen Burke, sometimes moved to encrypted messaging apps like Signal and WhatsApp. Greger said using the encrypted platforms was not his decision and testified it was requested by others. Greger also claimed he still works with Burke's mother, Coleen, and is on a $7,500 a month retainer in hopes of finding a new entertainment lawyer for the embattled singer. The statement seemed curious as the singer is incarcerated and facing murder charges. Beth Silverman also questioned Greger about Burke's finances after his arrest. Greger testified that Burke had a trust account with Morgan Stanley valued at roughly $2 million, and he said that he discussed helping Burke's mother, Coleen Burke, move money so that it could potentially be used for bail. He also testified that one of Burke's home was intended to be used as collateral for a bond while another was not. Silverman then questioned Greger about the previous grand jury testimony regarding whether he advised Coleen Burke to transfer ownership of Burke's homes into her name. Greger testified he suggested the transfer because one of the properties was a family home, and when prosecutors asked whether he had previously said the move was intended to protect the properties from potential civil claims by Celeste's family, Greger said he didn't recall making that statement or preparing any transfer documents. He did acknowledge providing Coleen Burke with the name of someone who could assist with transferring the titles. On cross-examination, Defense attorney Marilyn Bednarski first moved focus away from Burke's finances towards how his business was managed. Through Gregor, Bednarski established that Burke had entered the music industry with little experience after first gaining popularity as a gamer. Gregor testified Burke's day-to-day affairs were primarily handled by his manager, Robert Morgenroth, who was employed through Mogul Vision, while Burke's mother, Coleen Burke, was Gregor's main point of contact for financial matters. Gregor acknowledged he had little direct communication with Burke himself regarding bills, expenses, or other routine financial decisions, and communicated with Colleen instead. Interesting, right? Why do I get the feeling that all Mom cared about is the money David was making? She was in control of managing his finances from the very beginning of his career, as it seems. The Mom turns more and more evil as things are being revealed now. I think they knew from the beginning that he was engaging with a minor and that he killed her, but all they truly cared about was David making money, and they wanted him to continue making money. Since stage moms are often very weird people, wouldn't surprise me if she's the one pushing Caleb's stuff out now to try and hang on to that lifestyle. Yes, my thoughts as well. I wonder if things are really as they are displaying out in public. I'm beginning to think the Mom pushed David from the beginning to create music. He stated that she proposed that he does it because of the Fortnite videos, but maybe the Mom was making more pressure, as he ever admitted, and is now pressuring Caleb. Typical holy roller, devil in disguise, trying to hide in plain sight. You know Mum is screwed up and manipulative. She spawned a dark triad and nurtured him to become the devil he is today. Yes, I completely agree. Mum seems super confident to play it out in their favor. It's the reason why they never wanted to testify. They are conspirators, though. Yes, now we see where he gets his evil mastermind in starter that everyone persona from. I'm smarter than everyone persona from. That manipulation and conniving is an inherited and learned trait. I don't care what anyone says. She knew he was sick, and she's just as sick in other ways. Once he's locked away, she'll start giving exclusive interviews for money. Reviving his career, I've never heard anything more delusional. This so-called Christian lady just loves money from romantic homicide. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I don't have kids, but in theory, I don't think I could look my son in the eyes again after learning what he did, and I'm not even religious like that. The family knew about Celeste. They're rotten, and something is very wrong with this family. Would certainly offer an explanation as to why in recent months we've seen activity on his Spotify account, like updating of digital assets. Under normal circumstances, this would align with an artist gearing up for new releases or tours. If it's true that the family are trying to revive his music career, thinking he'll walk free, then they have lost touch with all reality. Even if they can't prosecute David on murder charges, well, now they just did. There's no escaping the illegal videos. I don't want to. He will be on. He's not being this. We know that. I don't need to read all that. They are delusional. The mum seems like a very controlling person. He started to live his own life when he left the family home and headed to LA. I guess he was permitted because he was bringing the money. From there, things were taking darker paths. However, it was tolerated by his parents, and Celeste even visited them with David. It was probably the mum who was messing with Spotify. This woman seems very money hungry. Their whole displayed Christianity may only be a cover. In my opinion, things for David don't look good at all. Even if he only walks out, he got charged with murder. This explains why the family's holding out, trying to delay the grand jury. I guess they still have his brother's music career to fall back on. His brother sucks, man. First, I start seriously considering the mom is not pimping them out. First David, now Caleb. We don't know what's really going on at the Burke's home behind the curtains. And she pushed both of the other younger kids onto his stage to sing throughout the tours. I think she's fame and money hungry. Once everything started rolling in and 10 toes down went that direction versus protecting her kids and looking out for them. Pulled from school, pushed into this fame world, and priorities in the wrong places. I wouldn't be surprised if she's also supporting the second son and pushing everything. Timing always around court dates, etc. Last hope is that maybe the young girl makes out all right from that family, but something about them always seemed off. Not sure how else to put it. Yeah, pretty sure transferring it to his parents was illegal. It's not going to work. I hope Celeste's family sues them for every penny he earned. They deserve it for their pain and suffering. I agree. I was resistant to the idea of his graphic themes being a direct reference from his own mind, but to me, if this is actually happening based on his cold and chill attitude in court and the recent movement on his platform, I wonder if he thinks this is just a huge spectacle and is trying to sell the artist-turned-murderer for art. Like, I thought he was plain dumb. I still think that, but I wonder if the sloppy job of covering it up is not just a fuck it, and he's writing a storyline as this unfolds. He's probably very amused. I've believed this too since it all came out. I think this was an opportunity for him to play a sick fantasy of being a musician whose music was something never done before, because then it can be connected to a real life matter. Here's what I think. I just got this vibe. This is just my complete opinion. I got this vibe in court that he low-key, even though he wasn't showing it, he was loving it all being about him. He loves attention. He loves being the center of attention. And unfortunately, he was the center of attention throughout this whole thing. It was all about him and things he'd said and he'd done and he'd been involved in. And I reckon he loved it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's thinking, make the best of a bad situation. I'm cooked, but let me release music while I'm in jail and I'm going to be a famous convict. He was the most Googled man in 2025. I bet he loved it deep down. And he hadn't even been arrested at that point. It's obvious from his interviews he wants to seem deep and philosophical, mix that wannabe attitude with the psychopathy, and he believes he curated the best pop culture story ever. Also, I honestly believe he 100% always had a desire to kill and was waiting for the perfect opportunity to do so. However, due to it being said Celeste was going to out him as a PDF, he had to quickly come up with murdering her. That's why it took him so long to figure out what to do with the body. I bet if he had more time to plan, like he's most likely desired to do, he wouldn't have left such an obvious trail, but thank God he did, because Celeste is getting justice and he'll be put under the prism. I really think he doesn't regret what he's done, and the artistic aspect of being this depressed, gory persona that actually killed, mind you, killed a lover, just like his art themes, not just anyone, is absolutely inflating his ego. I think so. So David's parents weren't in court, didn't show their cowardly faces once, but we might see them at the trial. That would be interesting. So allegedly the mom knew about Celeste. That's not true. That's not true. I'm gonna just leave it there, I think. But look, why weren't the parents arrested like Neo and forced to testify in front of the grand jury? Why? I want to know why. I'm gonna find out why. All right. At some point, I'll be at the trial and we will find out why. We're going to get all of this out because he's definitely going to go not guilty, and he is definitely going to take this to trial. I think he loves the attention. I think he would love this for weeks in, week out, to just do this shit back to back. I bet he loved it, and I bet he went back to his cell. I don't know what he's got access to. He probably doesn't have a tablet. He probably gets newspaper clippings. Maybe he can read the paper. Maybe he can read books. I don't know. Honestly, he's probably in there writing songs and his family are planning album releases. It's disgusting. But anyway, I'm going to do another David video on a different topic because I do actually have another update that I thought was interesting that I've been seeing going around, and it's just something I wanted to get into regarding a statement made by the DA about David and his potential plea. So I'll let you guys know about that in a different video. Thank you for watching this one. I'm out. Justice for Celeste is coming. Rest in peace to her. I just hope that we can see justice sooner rather than later. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.